agenda item that I'm presenting is 4.1. It is for the draft standard for spices in the form of dried barks, and what we call it barks or لحاء in Arabic. In regard to the requirements, 4.1 is in regard to these substances. In 2023, there was a new work proposal based on the requested by CCSCH8 and a circular letter seeking proposals for new work that had been distributed in January 2023 with a deadline of 3rd September 2023. In 2024, during the CCSCH7, the proposal was presented where Brazil presented to CAC 47 for approval and adoption. And it was the recommendation was sent to convene EWG, chaired by Brazil and co-chaired by Islamic Republic of Iran, Indonesia, and Mexico, in order to prepare the subject to the approval of the new work, a draft standard for cinnamon. In CAC 47 in 2024, the new work proposal was formally approved. We can have a general view on the work process. The first stage, which is establishment of the EWG, chaired by Brazil, co-chaired by Indonesia and Iran and Mexico. 21 Codex members and participated. Also, we had one member organization, the International Organization of Spice Trade Associations, in the second phase. That was in 2024 February to convene the EWG. The first draft issued in June 2024. It was commented by the 10 members, highlighted the spices scope, bark definition, and coumarin and cinnamolidhyde and labeling. We can say that this draft in the second stage was reviewed in 2024 in September. There were 7 members in addition to IOSTA commented on the unresolved issues to be kept in brackets and to be referred to for adoption by the committee. The final draft in the step number 4 or the stage number 4, the draft standard as a final, the EWG submitted its final report to Codex Secretariat with bracketed provisions for decision and advancement during the CCSCH8 in the 8th session of the CCSCH in 2025. Here we give a view on the key discussion points and comments in the CCSCH8, the main key points or issues raised. We can say we'd like to explain the several items here. There are several issue items. Overall support, most members, including Peru and also in several countries like Mexico, Colombia, Iraq, Chile, and USA, there were several comments from EU emphasized the need to follow the Codex template strictly to maintain consistency in order to give a template to be in line with the Codex standard for the spices and herbs. So initially, most of the members and countries agree, but with certain remarks. Talking about the most important point with disputes was in regard to the types and definitions. There were several options not agreed upon until now. They are presented to the current committee for discussion. The first option proposes covering the option 1 proposes covering to the Silencium together with we call it selenium together with the cassia types. It is supported by Kenya, Indonesia. The option 2 proposes a single cinnamon category, and this opinion is supported by the EU. Sri Lanka opposed both options and demanded that the CZLM Ceylon cinnamon be recognized separately with a maximum coumarin limit to differentiate between the two types and to have a separate standard for the what we call the cassia and to have a separate standard. Until now, there is no consensus on this step. The basis of that, the selenium, it may contain a component which is coumarin. This chapter or this separation needs to mention this distinction in regard to the labeling. We have several proposals. Sri Lanka and several members supported labeling country of harvest on labels to protect authenticity and prevent fraud. That helps consumers to maintain the authenticity to counter fraud. USA cautioned against adding requirements that go beyond established trade practices. We're talking about terminology. There are several comments coming from UAE and Thailand called for clear definitions to distinguish dried from dehydrated cinnamon. Also, the IOSTA recommended corrections to scientific names and trade names to avoid duplication and errors. We're talking about the fifth item, chemical parameters. We have Sri Lanka and India supported to maintain the certain limits. This component that gives the oil, aromatic oil. Also, they requested to add another parameter. USA and EU preferred deleting these parameters, arguing they were unnecessary or burdensome. This is for the chemical and physical matters and issues. There were opposition. They requested more separation and detailing for whole and ground cinnamon and the differences in the modeling and styling. This is the most important part. Next, in regard to recommendations, when we go to recommendations here, we have 4. First, to advance the draft standard for cinnamon to the next step, subject to resolution outstanding issues, and we favor clear recognition of silent cinnamon while maintaining the inclusiveness of cassia types to reflect both consumer health concerns of coumarin material. We suggested that we favor the advance of the draft standard for cinnamon in order to distinguish between the types of cinnamon and to show that the coumarin is included. We ensure UAE and emphasize UAE proposal for separation and to show when it is dried or dehydrated, while showing that the barks have their standards. It is not in harmony with or in line with the standard of the Codex and ISO Codex in regard to support labeling provisions such as country of harvest to enhance authenticity and prevent misrepresentation, provided they remain practical for exporters, because that will may affect the value.